All right. Enough is enough. We can't take any more of this Dem debate. Let's get things started here on a Tuesday. Here we go.
Get ready to fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines on WNJC.
Roger, 3-2. Goliath copies all. Go ahead. Target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage.
Live from the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Baradelli and Russ Gallo.
And you are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Baradelli, Russ Gallo here on a Tuesday night, our new night here on We're America Radio. Russ, how you doing, pal?
I'm doing all right. What's going on, Brad?
Well, there's quite a lot going on, actually, right now. As we are taping this show, for those of you listening on replay, on a lovely Tuesday evening in the People's Republic of New York City, we are listening somewhat to the Dem debate on CNN right now. And, Russ, gut reaction for the first hour that you've been listening. By the way, I apologize. This is worse than waterboarding, I bet.
Yeah, I'm stopping listening. I'm not going to catch any of the debate on the replay. If you're missing our show right now on the live feed to watch a debate, shame on you, because it really is quite awful. I'm having a good time watching Donald Trump tweet about it, to tell you the truth, his live tweets.
They're phenomenal, aren't they?
I wanted to vomit a question, I suppose, like within the first hour.
Just one question?
Well, this was the question that made me pretty much turn off the debate. 5 people running for president, Anderson Cooper asked them, okay, so do all lives matter, or do black lives matter?
Oh, come on.
How is that a question for people running for president, and how is the answer not all lives matter? How is that not the answer?
So you're telling me there are candidates up there that said only black lives matter?
Well, I'll tell you what. None of them said all lives matter. And I know you thought Webb might have said it, but he didn't. They all skirted the issue, except for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders came out and said black lives matter.
Well, you know what? Okay. Total strategery, right? That's Bernie Sanders' only way to win. He's got to pander to everybody and anybody. And he's got to pull minority voters. Remember when everybody said that Bill Clinton was the first black president of the United States? I mean, this is it for him, man. He's got to do it. He's got to try to get as many voters as he can.
Why don't we recap who's actually on that stage? Because it's actually quite shocking when you look at these guys. First of all, before we mention their names,
really quick.
Before you mention their names, the progressive, hip, new age Democratic Party has 4 old white men and an old white grandmother up there. Go ahead, name them.
Well, it's Hillary, Bernie, and the Three Stooges, right?
Hillary, Bernie, O'Malley, who was the mayor of Baltimore, if Baltimore still exists.
I'm hearing a lot of diversity right now.
Lincoln Chafee, who was a Republican at one point.
And an independent as well.
And then an independent, and now a Democrat.
My, oh my.
Wow. And then Jim Webb. Oddly enough, out of that group of people, seems like the most level-headed guy on the stage.
Jim Webb. Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like the most level-headed one, really, out of all of them. Except he keeps crying every 2 seconds that, I haven't had a chance to speak. Everybody else is talking more than me. Jim, you're polling at 0.000000%. You're not going to get that much time to speak, my brother. We all want to hear from the major candidates. By the way, Gene,
did he get his wife to vote in the poll for him?
I don't think anybody from his neighborhood, his block, or anybody got called because he has zero. He's shown up 0 in the polls.
But with a 4% margin of error, by the way.
My impression of these characters on stage, by the way, they're all afraid to throw a jab at Hillary. I get the impression that these four losers are going to actually vote for Hillary.
No, come on. They're running for the presidency of the United States.
No one will differentiate. Anderson Cooper, I'll give him credit. He's asking fairly tough questions, but he's actually being much more fair to the Democratic candidates than Fox News was to the Republican candidates.
I'm shocked.
And I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm saying more fairly. Anderson Cooper's job tonight is not to expose Hillary for the demon that she is. It's not to expose Bernie Sanders for the basically cat's delicatessen worker that he sounds like. It's not his job to expose these people.
Okay, I gotta say it now. Doesn't he remind you of Jackie Mason, the comedian? The old Jewish comedian?
He's not as clever. Jackie Mason was a clever guy. Bernie Sanders reminds me of a guy who will sell you like a dill pickle in cat's delicatessen. Like, that's who Bernie Sanders is to me.
Wow. And that's the person who wants to be your latex salesman.
He's from Brooklyn, by way of Vermont now. A carpetbagger in Vermont. Wants to lead the country. He's a socialist, but he doesn't call himself such. He's a democratic socialist, whatever the hell that means. There's just so much here. I was actually taking notes throughout the first hour.
Wait. Wow, you took notes? Is there anything to take notes about?
There really isn't. Everything was so rambling and out of control. You actually don't need to watch the debate to comment on it because everything they're saying is predictable. Everything. Believe it or not, they're blaming Bush for income inequality.
Well, it worked so well last time around, right?
Income inequality in this country is being blamed on Bush. They're not counting the fact that President Obama's been in office for 7 years. They're not counting the fact that the first few years President Obama had a Democratic Congress.
They're not counting the fact that in the first 4 years of those last 7 years, Hillary Clinton was part of that administration.
No. So it's still Bush's fault.
Well, why not? I mean, he's done so much over the past 7 years to stop the progress here of the great American society.
Bernie Sanders said he had enough of the emails. He doesn't want to hear anything more about Hillary's emails. Does that sound like a guy who's serious about running for president?
I can't believe that line. Apparently, this shows how out of touch Bernie Sanders is with the American people.
Does Bernie Sanders know what an email is the question. Can we get there?
It comes through the air or something. We don't know, Russ.
Through the interwebs.
But you know what? 6 out of the 10 people want to know about Hillary Clinton's emails because they all think she's untrustworthy, dishonest, liar. Those are the words that came up the most in association with Hillary Clinton, according to CNN in their pre-show.
And Anderson Cooper threw it out there, rightfully so, when they said they tried to poo-poo this as no big deal. He said, with all fairness, you're under an FBI investigation. This is kind of a big deal.
And, of course, she did not want to answer anything about that, right? Blame the Republicans. That's the tactic. When in doubt, it's a vast right-wing conspiracy. It's been working for the past 20 years, plus, actually. Why not just keep going with it?
Speaking of blaming the Republicans, let's talk about Lincoln Chafee for a second, please. No one else is, so we might as well do it. Lincoln Chafee is exactly what's wrong with a good number of Republicans in Congress now. John Boehner wasn't quite a Lincoln Chafee, but when you listen to a guy like Chafee speak, and if you really want to torture yourself, like Gene mentioned earlier, go ahead and watch this debate and listen to some of the things Chafee's saying. But the guy was a rhino back then. He said he was a liberal Republican, which I don't know what that is. Then he said something like he's a progressive Republican, independent. Now he's a Democrat. Now he's a moderate Democrat, whatever that means.
Yeah, you're no Mike Bloomberg, my friend. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So, Lincoln Chafee was a rhino. There's lots more. Thank God he switched over to the Democratic Party, and I wish that a few more would. Stay strong on this speaker debate. We got to get a conservative in there. Freedom Caucus, do your thing. Let's get back to the Democrats.
But let's get back to Mo, Larry, Curly, Shemp, and Hillary. And you all know which one is Shemp, okay, guys? That's definitely Bernie. Just from the things that I've been watching, while you've been watching the debate, Russ, and again, you deserve like a Purple Heart just for doing that. I've been following the Twitters a little bit on the way over to the studio here. And Ari Fleischer had a great line. I'm going to paraphrase it here, but he's basically saying that Hillary Clinton is the focus group candidate. All of her positions have been vetted, have been gone through, polled, repolled. Frank Luntz has called up and said, hey, Hillary, you need to do this. So all of her answers have been clearly tailored, rehearsed for a wider audience than the debate. Bernie Sanders is obviously the crackpot of the group. Vermont, known for its cheddar and its crazy.
I might beg to differ, Gene.
Really? That's what I've been seeing on the Twitters.
Listen, Bernie Sanders, certainly a crackpot. I'm not taking that away from him.
You don't like the cheddar and the crazy line out of the Vermont? You don't like that?
He's a crackpot on a shelf of cracked pots. I mean, none of them are coherent and none of them are sane. Bernie Sanders does not seem that far out of the Democratic mainstream. And if you look at his poll numbers, a man who is running as an openly admitted socialist is beating Hillary Clinton, a Clinton, in the first few primary states. That is astonishing. That is so revealing about the Democratic Party and where its base lies. And maybe not so much the base anymore, the majority of the party where it lies.
That's a scary thought, Russ. To say that a socialist, someone who admits on the debate stage that he is anti-capitalist, admitted it freely on the stage, you're saying that he is not so far from the mainstream of where the Democratic Party is currently today.
And this is why I believe that DNC chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz,
That witch,
the president and member of the Home Perm Association, is brilliant in my view. The more you let these people debate, she's limited the debates and she's delayed them for as long as possible. The more you put these maniacs on stage, the less likely it is that any of them are going to win the presidency in the general election. It is impossible. I guarantee you, and mark this down, people, that Donald Trump, Ben Carson, Carly Fiorina, by the way, all of which are beating Hillary Clinton in the latest polls head-to-head nationwide, their numbers get a boost after this Democratic debate, after the candidates are somewhat exposed for the maniacs that they are.
You know, we got a chat room going right now during the show live here on We Are America Radio, the number one political talk station on live365.com. We're number one in government. We're also the fastest growing internet radio platform on the interwebs today. During the chat right now, we got people saying that Bernie Sanders may be a crackpot, but compared to the rest, he's the one who sounds the least idiotic. And I have a theory about that, Russ. By the way, shout out to my boy Khaled, who I grew up with here in Brooklyn, who actually said that to us. One of my longest personal dear longtime friends.
I'm sorry, Khaled.
Wow, that was horrible. Here's what I think about that. Bernie Sanders is probably the only candidate up on stage that's believing his own BS.
That's the truth. He actually when he talks about, I hate corporations, Bernie Sanders believes that. He does hate corporations. When he says, I hate big banks, he does. And he'll work to destroy capitalism in this country. But when you look at a person like Hillary Clinton, she don't hate big business. She don't hate corporations and banks. The global Clinton initiative, where do they get their money from? Who pays Hillary hundreds of thousands of dollars to speak? It's not the average poor African-American Black Lives Matter idiot protesting somewhere. It's big business. It's a bank. It's a corporation. It's a foreign government. She don't hate these people. Bernie does.
But you know what? I think it's the Russ Gallo School of Politics in the reverse. When you put someone up there who's a true believer on stage, people are going to resonate to that because they appreciate the genuineness in a sea of fakery. And I think that when you pick a wedge issue like income inequality is for Democrats, you win on that.
Income inequality.
Let's talk about that phrase for a second.
So, again, they blame Bush for this. Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton. They blame George Bush. President Obama for 7 years has done what on this issue exactly? They said that there was
not a whole lot.
Hillary Clinton said that she wants to be elected to help heal the racial divide in the United States. What did the black president do for the last 7 years about the racial? Did he make